And welcome back to Game Escape. Here today to talk about really the issue of the week, and that is the crazy YouTube copyright situation that's going on right now. Videos are getting content ID'd all over the place, really affecting these multi-channel networks in the affiliate, not managed status, and it's just, I think, a shot over the bow for all content producers here on YouTube. And I wanted to sort of offer my perspective on this as kind of the really small guy, and also talk about, exactly some of the misapprehensions that are going on the part of publishers and YouTube. I think the first thing to realize here is what YouTube and the content owners, quote unquote, are attacking here is the concept that what people do on YouTube who create Let's Plays and video game reviews, they're disputing the fact that what we're doing is actually work. And I do this as a hobby. I certainly don't have any major plans to make tons of money here. I mean, it's nice to kind of hold that carrot off in the future, but basically I do what I do because it's fun. However, I won't deny that what I do here on YouTube takes some work. I mean, my production values are not great, but I try as hard as I can with the time that I have to put out something valuable to my subscribers and to YouTube. And I think if you look at the big channels, the people who, do this for a living, I mean, this is work. This is not necessarily an easy job. And I know what the publishers are thinking as well, we're putting, hundreds of man hours, thousands of man hours into creating this game, and we have this huge marketing budget, and then, some guy sits on his couch and trashes it. This can't be. Well, that's the nature of free speech. And the guy who's sitting on his couch and maybe trashing a game, he is still engaging in some sort of productive activity in the sense that there is some input that goes in to playing a game and posting it to YouTube. I mean, I am not the most skilled video game player in the world, but if I know I'm recording footage that I'm going to use in a video game review, or just as the backdrop to some commentary, I try to play the game better. Is it fun? Is it part of my hobby, my passion for games? Yes, but it is a kind of work. Writing out scripts for reviews, doing, multiple takes of the audio. Is it fun? Yes, it's fun, but it actually takes some time. And so the idea that I should not have the opportunity to monetize these videos and make just a little something for my efforts is kind of a bonus for the pleasure that I get out of doing this is absolutely absurd. And this is just an example of companies, and Nintendo, I think, they may not be behind this whole sort of crackdown this week, but they are one of the worst offenders when it comes to content ID on YouTube. But these companies believe that, I really do think that this is somewhere in sort of the twisted minds of these executives, that the gameplay footage is why people are tuning in to YouTube, or coming to these channels, and that's absolutely false. People are coming to these channels for the personalities, for the information, and for the commentary that is out there. Moreover, a lot of this commentary tends to be positive, particularly at the level of somebody like myself who is not that big and into retro gaming. We're here to talk about games that we loved in the past and give recommendations for games that people should absolutely buy and play. And in the case of me, when I go out and I talk about new games, it's because, they channel some of that retro passion that I have. And so most of my work on here is positive. Most of the when I follow the retro gaming community here on YouTube, a lot of their stuff tends to be positive. Which is not to say that people shouldn't criticize old games or that we should just solely focus on the positive. No. But I think producers of games, the developers of games, get a lot of benefit from the work that is put in to YouTube. And if you move to a model where you can only view gameplay footage directly from the publishers, well, that's a commercial. That's not interesting. Nintendo Directs may be charming. It might be fun to see Iwata bowing and talking to the guys who make Pokemon, and it has its own little aesthetic, but it's an advertisement. And it's not as interesting as somebody giving a journalistic review of a game. So, given that, why shouldn't these videos be monetized? There's work on the part of the producer, and they're not asking for a tremendous amount of money. I mean, the money that you get from YouTube, and I don't get any money from YouTube at this point, but as I understand it, is fairly minimal. I mean, you have to put a lot of work in to actually earn a living here. So this is labor. This is, in a lot of sense, uncompensated labor that we're doing, at least if you're at my level, for these publishers and for these developers. And the ability to, at some point, once you've built an audience, to actually earn money for this work, I think is vitally important to the entrepreneurial spirit that YouTube was built on. And what you're seeing here, I think, is something a little even more nefarious than YouTube's algorithms not really discriminating content very well, and just an issue that will eventually get worked out. I think what we're seeing an example of here is horrendous rent seeking on the part of these companies, believing very strongly that, again, their gameplay is what draws people in, and trying to monetize every ounce of pleasure that anyone might derive from their product. That is abhorrent, and that happens really in so many facets of our economy that it's actually shocking and upsetting that we're getting to feel it here in video games. Of course, it's not unexpected. And moreover, I think we're starting to feel it now because of the amazing success that the YouTube gaming community has had. I mean, think of how many people talk about how they, have cut the cord for cable, and there's so many different things that they can sort of view online at a much more reasonable price. YouTube, I think, is one of those things. I know for myself, I don't watch television much anymore. I do watch the occasional sporting event, but a lot of the video content that I consume is gaming content on YouTube. And so I think this whole rent-seeking behavior, in addition to monetizing every ounce of these games, what is also happening is that I think game publishers, the publishers who are sort of behind this, and of course, the music rights people who are just disgusting human beings. If you actually read about how music licensing occurs, it's quite upsetting. And this is my sort of conspiratorial sort of theory, I think more traditional outlets for video are cheerleading this and jumping for joy, because what's actually happening is that the legal system here is being used to reduce the production value of YouTube gaming content. Now think about it. If I can't use gameplay footage, or if the big guys can't use gameplay footage, you're basically reduced to being a talking head, and that is inherently less engaging than hearing the commentary, seeing examples of it, and getting to learn the mechanics of the game through watching it. That is a direct hit on production value, and that will, I think, give cause to the consumers of this content to not watch it as much. And so if you're a defender and a supporter of traditional media, this is precisely what you want. You don't want people putting together slick, high-value productions on YouTube discussing games or anything else for that matter. You want YouTube to be a repository for random, poorly produced vlogs. And that's how you protect your ability to earn money from this content. And so what I can see happening is a situation where YouTube really vets who can be a top-level partner. And there will be some mechanism for these really, really top performers to cut deals with publishers and monetize video content and maybe put these really, really top channels behind some sort of subscription wall or some sort of paywall whereby the publishers will actually take more of a cut of the advertising revenue generated by these videos. And, that's a future that I don't want to see. I think one of the great strengths of YouTube is that if you're considering buying a game, whether it's a retro game or a modern game, you can get 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 or 15 different opinions and takes on the game as far as, reviews or let's plays or retrospectives. And that's part of the fun of pursuing the hobby, and it helps you make that decision. It helps you take the step to purchase the game, and I think that is a tremendous benefit, like I said, to a lot of these companies. Why would you essentially limit people from doing this and actually making a living? Why shouldn't people make a living who do this and do this well, and who have very carefully built a huge audience on YouTube? It's really a blow to the democratic nature of YouTube. I mean, YouTube, from the beginning, at least in my opinion, was a way where people could produce their own content and sort of fight the big guys and put something out there that had some value to a large audience, and they could do it right in their bedroom and, yes, earn some money. That shouldn't be a problem. So I think the question is, what can you do? What can we do as a community to fight this? And there have been a lot of different ideas that have been rolled out. I mean, the suggestion by YouTube is ostensibly to, continue producing your videos, and they'll just get flagged and you won't be able to monetize them. But you can sort of do it for the passion, which is also incredibly hypocritical because, think about it. If the companies were so concerned that the marketability of their and then the market itself for their products were affected by all this content out there, then why not pull a video down? Why not, delete a video that has a content ID claim on it? But no, they can be up there. They can be sort of floating around YouTube. People can watch them, people can enjoy them, but the producer just can't make money off them. That is utter hypocrisy, and that's really not the answer. I've read, okay, so you'll find another video site. You'll sort of migrate over. Some people mention Daily Motion, something like that. I don't really think that's reality. Maybe Twitch will be the place to do a lot of this work and do a lot of this commentary. I think that's inherently dangerous because, look, once Twitch gets big, they can do the exact same thing. It's actually pretty unclear to me, anyway. How does Twitch get away with, having these hour-long broadcasts of gameplay? Sometimes people use licensed music in their streams, and it's not an issue. I mean, we've got Twitch functionality built into the PS4. It's coming to the Xbox One. I don't think Twitch is safe. I think the other reasonable point that people have made is that, the publishers that allow monetization will be the publishers who get the most coverage from YouTube channels. And that's fair, and that's, I think, a very reasonable course of action. I know for myself, I created this channel to sort of talk about everything. There are some games that I love and I enjoy playing, and it would be nice to make videos and monetize those videos. I mean, I just put up a video on Super Mario 3D World, and just really was gushing about it and praised this is an absolutely wonderful game. Got the Content ID claim. I'm not taking it down, but the point is, anyone who watched that video, I hope, would be convinced to buy this game. Free marketing. I put in so many, 4 or 5 hours of my time between playing it and making the video and editing it. And I gave Nintendo a huge amount of praise for making this game and for their approach behind it. You know, I would like to be able to talk about all games and not sort of restrict myself to just those pool of publishers who allow monetization. And you know what? I'm okay with going that route. I'm okay with supporting those publishers who support the community, but I think it really narrows the focus of a lot of the content, the gaming content here on YouTube. I think what people should be considering is a kind of protest. I mean, think about what would happen if the biggest channels went dark for a weekend. They made all of their videos private, and they didn't produce any content for that week or for that weekend. Then you might be able to assess the monetary value that they bring to YouTube. I mean, how many advertising dollars would be lost if a Total Biscuit or a PewDiePie did that? Now, I realize that is a financial blow to the content producers, and not everyone is going to do that. I mean, I think it would be wonderful, but it would be perhaps unreasonable to have a YouTube-wide strike, essentially, and just pull down all of the gaming content for a weekend and see what happens and see how the audience reacts. But I think there needs to be some coordinated effort on the part of not only the content producers on YouTube who are in the gaming community, but also the people that consume this content to say, hey, this is valuable. This is something that we love and that we're willing to fight for, and we don't want to see disappear because of some misguided corporate strategy and the kind of legal mechanisms behind it. And I think in the end, this will win respect, and it all comes down to that idea of respect. I don't really believe that YouTube developers, and I'm not going to say all developers, because some developers really do support what's going on here on YouTube, but some developers, and certainly publishers, do not respect the content produced on YouTube as valuable work, and work which should be compensated. I don't think anyone who produces videos on YouTube thinks that they should make the bulk of the money produced by video content. I mean, because of course YouTube hosts the site and provides the technological means for doing what we do. But I think what has to be respected is the fact that we are doing something valuable. And you would think that YouTube would necessarily support that, because it is what has made their site what it is today. How much traffic goes to YouTube because of the great work that YouTube video game long players and reviewers and channels do. So to me, this idea that YouTube is just sitting back and Google is sitting back and saying, well, hey, we have this algorithm in place, but it's really a discussion that the producers need to have with, the quote-unquote content owners. It's another example of the hypocrisy, and I think also another example of how Google has and continues to really move away from that whole idea of don't be evil, that somehow their technologies are going to open up the world and enable the free flow of ideas and dialogue. This is doing the exact opposite. This is a form of censorship. This is companies throwing their weight around because they want to manage every bit of publicity that their product gets. And as I said before, that is abhorrent. So it will be interesting to see how all of this plays out. I can speak, again, from my perspective as a very, very, very kind of minimal contributor to the great variety of video game content on YouTube, that it sort of reduces, in a certain sense, my willingness to put in a ton of work to produce video content. I like doing it. It's a hobby. I will continue to do it. But when you have that prospect of maybe earning a little something from your work diminished, and again, most of my videos are not monetized, but when you have the idea that there are these companies out there trying to restrict your ability to speak freely about games, it's depressing. It sort of robs you of motivation. Now, I won't stop doing it because I think that the companies are hoping to have that effect and to sort of intimidate people and to create a lack of incentive for people to criticize them. But what you'll probably see from me is slightly more critical videos of these companies, of these policies. And I think that is, again, maybe another thing that people could look into doing, is really every channel calling out the people behind strategies like this, because it destroys one of the greatest developments in gaming, and that is the online community around these games. What used to happen on your couch with friends, in the playgrounds when you were a kid, is now happening every day online. I mean, think about being young and loving a kind of a niche genre, and you couldn't talk to anyone about it. You couldn't really read about it except for a little 400-word article in EGM or something like that. Now you can be engaged and invested in a global community who is interested in the content in which you yourself are interested. This is an amazing innovation, and I think we have to fight to keep it alive. So thank you for watching Game Escape, and I will be back shortly with a new video.